let's start with Alabama, Michigan in the Rose Bowl, presented by Prudential. Monday, January 1st, 5 p.m. Eastern on ESPN, Pasadena. Michigan, 1.5 point favorite here. Total ticked down below 45 to 44.5. I will give quick news here. Jace McClellan, he didn't play in the SEC Championship. He's questionable to play. Their running back, Boyd McKinstry, suffered a concussion, but he's since cleared protocol. Michigan, they lost their stud starting right guard, Zach Zinner, for the season. Cornerback Will Johnson, he missed the Big Ten title game. He confirmed he will play. And their starting linebacker, Junior Colson, he is expected to play despite two casts. He has casts on both hands. It's going to be double clubbed at linebacker. Other than that, you're not going to have any major portal news for teams in the playoffs. So pretty close to full rosters here. I broke this game down a couple of times over the past few weeks. I like the under, but I missed it. I wanted 45 or better, so we'll see if it ticks back up. The thing with these playoff games you have to remember is they're on January 1st. These are games where, unless there's like huge groups that all agree, public can have a say. So if there's everyone is betting one side or total, I can impact the line a little bit. You might get some immediate sharp buyback, but I would imagine, it's 44.5. You might get some public over. I also think you'll probably get public Alabama. So just keep that in mind. I mean, the line's 1.5. It's not as important, but I like the under because I think number one, it's going to be played at a snail's pace. Michigan plays very slow. Alabama in their biggest games this year has played really slow. I don't think there's going to be many explosive plays in this game. I think that's going to be Michigan's main focus. Take away the explosive plays, take away Milroe's legs.
Yep.
And that's how they have to approach this. And on the other side, Michigan simply cannot afford, Michigan's game plan here has to be keep this low scoring. By the way, two good punters too, which lends itself to an under for flipping field position. But Michigan's not going to be able to drop back and throw the ball with how their offensive line has been protecting, specifically at tackle, when you're going up against, Braswell and Turner and company. You saw this against Penn State. Saw this against Iowa. They simply can't pass protect. Yeah, so I think Michigan's going to have to rely on its ground game. So I might still like a first half under. This game might eventually have to open up depending on if one team gets the lead. But I think both teams are going to play close to the vest, rely on their defense, try not to make a mistake. You like Alabama. I'm going to disagree with you. I like Michigan here. It's the two things that are just from a numbers perspective, I make Michigan over a field goal favorite. But I will admit, Michigan's hard to rate because they played nobody.
Mm-hmm.
You played Ohio State, Penn State. They played so many bad offenses that could be inflating their defensive numbers. But I think the Alabama offense is easier to prepare for with 30 days. And it's interesting. This Michigan, John Harbaugh, you got to say, gotta bring this up. Saban's been here, done that. Harbaugh 0-6 in his last 6 bowl games. I don't know if it's in their head. They talk about, hey, we're going to do less. Last year we overthought it. They're trying to change up everything they do. It's very interesting. But I think that they can get their offensive line in order in the run game. Corm and Edwards healthier now with 30 days off. I think they can get a push against this Alabama team. And people have to remember, the other complicated factor is that Alabama's offense is different in the second half of the year, right? So their season-long metrics are worse. You had some backup starting. But this is an Alabama team that went, 4 or 5-0 in one-possession games. Beat Georgia by 3 is an impressive win, but they also beat Arkansas by 3. They beat, Texas A&M by 6. They should have lost to Auburn. It's not like this team has been a juggernaut. This is not your older brother's Alabama team. They still have some issues on the offensive line. It's not all-world talent on the outside or at running back. We'll see if McClellan can even go. The defense is super talented, especially on the back end. I think Edwards in the slot maybe is your wild card here. I don't know if Michigan's wide receivers are going to be able to do much, but I think they're going to be able to get a push up front. And I think that they're going to be able to take away the deep ball and then just make sure Milroe doesn't beat you with his legs. It is a tough game to handicap because I look at Alabama's different in the they changed their offense a bit. Milroe was way better in the second half of the season. And then Michigan basically just didn't play anybody. But I think McCarthy's legs, Edwards in the slot, healthy Corum and Edwards. Work on that offensive line over this past 30 days. They're going to be able to get a push. I think Milroe makes 1 or 2 mistakes. That's the difference in the game. I'm calling it 23-20 Michigan.
Well, I guess we could say I'm calling it with you. On Tuesday, I submitted my full write-up for this bowl. Our editor, Pete, can attest that I put this in on Tuesday. I have decided to go with Michigan in this game. I think I flipped. My take on this game is I have a 9-1 on Alabama. I'm not hedging a penny yet until I did a full deep dive analysis. I did a full deep dive analysis. I wrote it up yesterday.
Man, I thought we were going to argue over this.
No, and so I think what you have to do when you handicap sports like we do, it doesn't matter what sport it is. If you love something so much, try to make a case on the other side and see if you can. And with all this noise that's going on with Alabama, my writing, where I get into everything, run concepts, coverages, motion, everything I can think of, I try to put in the write-ups over at Action Network. Let's see what is the happy path for Michigan to win this game. So when you think about it, will Michigan try to line up and play bully ball over the Alabama defensive line like it did in 2021 in the Peach Bowl against Georgia? Because they got murdered 33-8. Or are you going to go spread tempo explosives 2022 TCU style in the Fiesta Bowl? I think the latter way is the only way your offense is going to be able to beat Alabama. If you think you're simply just going to line up and run zone read with Blake Corum, it's not going to work. JJ McCarthy isn't healthy. It's not going to work. The path for Michigan to win this game is as follows. A, on defense, you have to follow Texas and Georgia's blueprint. And what Kirby Smart and Steve Sarkisian did was they kept Milroe in the pocket. Remember, we talked about pass rush integrity. You have to keep Jalen Milroe in the pocket. You have to take away the deep pass. 24 big-time throws, no mistakes on throws over 20 yards.
Yeah, best deep ball throw in college football.
Come back a little bit, 10 to 19-yard throws. 1 big-time throw, 7 turnover-worthy plays on 62 attempts. Get him to throw in between the hash marks in the middle of the field, 10 to 19 yards, and he makes mistakes all day. Now, Milroe is going to have pressure all day. Edge Mike Morris had 37 pressures. He's going to be able to get around this Alabama offensive line. And yes, the Wolverines were really high in defensive havoc. They almost always are. But generally, it's like tackles for loss and PBUs. This year, they forced 13 fumbles. Milroe is susceptible to putting that ball on the carpet. And Michigan, for some reason this year, has been better at getting the ball out of the opposing team's hands. And Milroe likes to put it out there. So on offense, though, I don't think it's a big leap of faith to say that Michigan's defense can do all of that to Milroe. I think that's completely plausible. This side of the ball on Michigan's offense is where I probably needed to have a little faith to say that this can happen. First off, against Alabama's defense, you don't run outside zone because they dominate it. Well, guess what? Michigan doesn't run outside zone. Nearly all inside man power concepts from Corum and Edwards. You have to minimize the loss of Zinter. Zach Zinter, their star right guard, he's taken nearly every snap there since 2021. So you're going to have to come up with run concepts that go away from that. Now, McCarthy must be a viable threat in inside zone reads or Corum's just going to get destroyed. If Alabama doesn't think McCarthy can run, game over, right? But you would think he's healthy. He went into the Iowa game. He said, my ankle almost completely healthy. So he should be after a month.
Yeah, his legs will be huge here, I think.
Look at his
extending drives, third down, scrambles.
Yeah, look at his scrambles. He's had 16 scrambles this year. What did he have last year? 24. He's been limited from, and I think that's affected the passing game too. So as much as we hate that he hasn't thrown for over 150 yards in the last 4 games of the season against his best competition, he's hurt. And if he can't get outside the pocket, he can't extend plays. Now he can. He has to hit slants to the slot. Now, I say that because I went into the route tree about what Alabama's defending. I mean, no disrespect to Kool-Aid McKinstry, Terry and Arnold, who's an absolute animal. All these guys are great, but they're at the whiteout corner position. They're not in the slot. Covering the slot has been a serious problem for Alabama from a success rate. They're only 41% and defending the slot. Well, wouldn't you know it? McCarthy hits the slot all the time. And who does he hit? Roman Wilson, 11 TDs on the year, almost exclusively through slants in the slot. Alabama's worst route is to defend that. Roman Wilson is a McCarthy favorite. I went back to the TCU game last year because if you're going to use this game plan to have a little bit of vertical in your game, a little bit more tempo, and to be a little bit out of the bag, Sharon Moore dipping into the bag and doing things, Roman Wilson was the favorite target against TCU. He had 6 targets. TD, I mean, he was an animal last year. Not going to, like I said, you're just not going to throw outside. You're going to hit on the inside. So that is the happy path. Do I believe the Michigan defense can replicate the Texas and Georgia blueprint of locking Milroe in the pocket and taking away the deep pass? Absolutely. Do I think they can force interceptions over the middle of the field? Absolutely. Do I think they can strip Milroe? Yeah, after I've seen these numbers, they've been stripping everybody of the ball. So I think I fully believe the Michigan defense can have their way here. McCarthy's ankle is paramount to this handicap. We're not going to know how healthy he is, but trust me, we're going to know real fast. And if he is mobile and he can get outside the pocket and he can do all these things and hit the slot to Roman Wilson, Michigan's going to win this game. Now, timing on this, I have a 9-1 Alabama. I think a lot of people have Alabama futures. I am going to put a Michigan. There are some out there minus 115s, minus 120s. I am going to hit it tonight at one book. I'm going to hit it again tomorrow at another book. I'm going to take a Michigan national title future as a hedge to my Alabama 9-1. If you want to play the game outright, that's fine. We'll worry about the handicap and all the futures and everything, but that is how I'm going to play it. Plus, in addition to this game, I'm going to play a Roman Wilson 2-1 anytime TD out of the slot. That is, to me, that is the path. I'm not sure McCarthy can get in by himself. If he's mobile, maybe he can. But considering what I see out of the TCU last year, where Sharon Moore likes to go, and where Alabama cannot defend is in the slot, give me a Roman Wilson anytime TD. Michigan moves on to the national title, and oh boy. Full ride up.
Jim. I'm riding with Bodog Jim as well. I think Loveland can have a big day, but I think using Edwards, a healthier Edwards in the passing game, lining him up in different places. And I think just him and Corum will be healthier after this break, and then they could figure out some of the offensive line without Zinter. They were shuffling, moving your tackle to guard. Who'd they have to move? Barnhart to right guard. So now you get time to work together. I think they're going to have success running it, and they're going to have some different looks. And I think they're going to confuse Milroe into mistakes in that intermediate range, and that's going to be the difference.
I will be, by the way, for everybody out there, I will be on the field at the Rose Bowl super early, and I will be having all eyes on JJ McCarthy, his mobility, Donovan Edwards, his mobility. It's the same thing when I was watching Darnell Washington, Ladd McConkey in the national title last year. I am exclusively looking for them to cut and burn, and if I see that out of them, I will be tweeting.